Al Capone, Eliot Ness. Two names etched in the annals of American history. One a ruthless gangster who ruled Chicago with an iron fist. The other a determined lawman who vowed to bring his empire crashing down. Their clash was a legendary battle, a game of cat and mouse played out on the blood-soaked streets of Chicago during the Prohibition era. This is the story of their war, a war fought in the shadows, a war that would redefine law enforcement and expose the dark underbelly of the American dream. Far from the glitz and glamour of his heyday, Al Capone's life ended not with a bang, but a whimper. Gone was the swagger, the power, the aura of invincibility that had once clung to him like expensive cologne. The syphilis, long whispered about in hushed tones, had taken its toll, ravaging his mind and body. In 1947, at his Miami Beach mansion, surrounded by the ghosts of his past, Al Capone died. A man who had lived by the gun, who had built his empire on blood and fear, breathed his last breath in relative obscurity. The year was 1931. Al Capone, seemingly untouchable, finally met his match. And it wasn't a rival gang or a hail of bullets. It was something far less dramatic, far more mundane. The Internal Revenue Service. Eliot Ness, the tenacious young agent heading the Untouchables, had a cunning strategy. If they couldn't get Capone on bootlegging or murder, they'd get him on something else, tax evasion. It was a bold move, a shot in the dark, but it hit its mark. Al Capone's ascent to power was as meteoric as it was brutal. In the lawless chaos of Prohibition-era Chicago, where liquor flowed like water and violence was a currency, Capone thrived. Starting as a bouncer in a brothel, he quickly rose through the ranks, his cunning and ruthlessness unmatched. He eliminated his rivals with terrifying efficiency, turning the city's underworld into his personal fiefdom. By the late 1920s, Scarface Capone was the undisputed king of Chicago, feared and in a twisted way respected. Section 5, The Untouchables, a force against fear, Eliot Ness. The name itself became synonymous with incorruptibility. A younger, more idealistic breed of lawmen, Ness assembled a team of agents as unwavering and incorruptible as he was, the Untouchables. They were a thorn in Capone's side, relentlessly raiding his breweries and speakeasies, chipping away at his empire one illegal barrel at a time. Their bravery in the face of overwhelming odds and rampant corruption made them legends, their story a beacon of hope in an increasingly cynical world. Section 6. The two faces of Al Capone, public image versus bloody reality. Al Capone was a master of manipulation, a media darling in a pinstripe suit. He knew how to charm the press and the public, presenting himself as a charismatic and generous figure. His sharp attire and confident demeanor made him a favorite subject for photographers and journalists alike. He cultivated a public persona of a benevolent benefactor, a man of the people. He donated to charities, opened soup kitchens, and made sure his acts of kindness were well publicized. These gestures were not just acts of goodwill, but strategic moves to build a positive image. During the Great Depression, when many were struggling to make ends meet, Capone stepped in to fill the void left by the government. He offered to help the city, providing food and resources to those in need. This further solidified his image as a savior in the eyes of the public. But behind this carefully crafted facade lurked a cold-blooded killer, a man who thrived in the shadows. His public acts of charity were a stark contrast to his private life, where he ruled with an iron fist and showed no mercy to those who crossed him. Capone was responsible for ordering the deaths of countless rivals and innocent bystanders. His empire was built on a foundation of fear and violence. The streets of Chicago ran red with the blood of his enemies, and his name became synonymous with ruthless criminal activity. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre, a brutal display of violence that left 7 men dead, was one of the most infamous events linked to Capone. This massacre was a turning point, a moment when the public could no longer ignore the brutal reality behind his polished image. The massacre shattered his carefully constructed image, revealing the monster beneath the expensive suits. The public's perception of Capone began to shift. and the media that once adored him started to question the true nature of his character. Eventually, the law caught up with Capone. He was arrested and convicted, not for his violent crimes, but for tax evasion. The image of Capone being escorted by police and later seen in prison attire marked the fall of one of the most notorious gangsters in American history. His duality, the public image versus the bloody reality, remains a stark reminder of the complexities of human nature. Section 7. Ness's relentless pursuit, turning the tide. Eliot Ness and his team were relentless. Their pursuit of Capone bordering on obsession. They faced constant threats, their families living under the specter of Capone's retribution, but they never wavered. They followed the money, painstakingly building a case against Capone, poring over financial records, turning informants, and squeezing his associates. Their efforts, often dangerous and always thankless, slowly but surely turned the tide of the war. Section 8, the final blow, Capone's downfall and its legacy. In the end, it wasn't a hail of bullets that brought down Al Capone. Despite his violent reign and the numerous attempts on his life, it was something far less dramatic but equally powerful. It wasn't a rival gang that sealed his fate either. Capone, who had managed to evade justice for so long, finally met his match in an unexpected form. It was a team of accountants armed with calculators and ledgers who meticulously combed through his financial records. These unsung heroes of law enforcement, often overlooked, played a crucial role in his downfall. Led by the unwavering Eliot Ness, a man of unyielding determination and integrity, they delivered the final blow. Ness and his team, known as the Untouchables, were relentless in their pursuit of justice. The tax evasion conviction, a seemingly mundane end for such a notorious figure, was a masterstroke. It demonstrated the power of the law and the importance of financial accountability. This conviction sent shockwaves through the nation. Capone's once mighty empire crumbled, his influence waned, and his reign of terror was finally over. The streets of Chicago, once ruled by fear, began to breathe a sigh of relief. His imprisonment marked the end of an era. The notorious gangster, who had once seemed untouchable, was now behind bars. His downfall served as a stark reminder of the consequences of a life of crime. His downfall marked a turning point in the fight against organized crime. It proved that even the most powerful criminals were not above the law. Law enforcement agencies across the country were emboldened by this victory. Capone's conviction was more than just a legal victory. It was a symbolic triumph. It showed that justice could prevail, no matter how formidable the opponent. The legacy of his downfall continues to inspire the fight against organized crime to this day. Section 9. Conclusion. The echoes of a bygone war. The war between Al Capone and Eliot Ness was more than just a battle between a gangster and a lawman. It was a defining moment in American history, a period that highlighted the stark contrast between two very different visions for society. On one side, there was Capone, a man who thrived in the shadows, exploiting the weaknesses of the Prohibition era to build an empire of vice and corruption. On the other, Ness, a symbol of integrity and resilience, who stood as a beacon of hope for a nation yearning for justice. It was a clash of ideologies, a struggle between chaos and order, between fear and justice. Capone's operations were vast and intricate, involving bootlegging, gambling, and various other illicit activities. His influence permeated every level of society, from the streets of Chicago to the highest echelons of power. Yet amidst this chaos, Ness and his team of Untouchables waged a relentless campaign to dismantle Capone's empire one raid at a time. Capone's reign, though ultimately short-lived, left an indelible mark on Chicago and the nation, a stark reminder of the seductive allure and corrosive power of unchecked ambition. His ability to manipulate and control through fear was both his greatest strength and his ultimate downfall. The media often portrayed him as a larger-than-life figure, a modern-day Robin Hood to some, but a ruthless criminal to others. His arrest and conviction for tax evasion, a seemingly minor charge compared to his other crimes, underscored the complexities of bringing such a powerful figure to justice. Ness's unwavering pursuit of justice, his refusal to be cowed by fear or corruption, set a new standard for law enforcement, inspiring generations to come. His methods, though sometimes controversial, showcased the importance of integrity and perseverance in the face of overwhelming odds. Ness and his team became symbols of what could be achieved when good men stood up against evil, refusing to back down even when the stakes were at their highest. Though the echoes of their war have long since faded, their legacy lives on, a testament to the enduring power of courage, determination, and the unwavering belief in the rule of law. The story of Capone and Ness is not just a tale of crime and punishment, but a reflection of the eternal struggle between right and wrong, and the impact that a few determined individuals can have on the course of history. Their battle, fought in the streets and courtrooms of Chicago, continues to resonate, reminding us of the importance of standing up for what is just, no matter the cost.